You take a virus, and then inside a laboratory, you make it far more dangerous than it is supposed to be. The thing about this virus is that it has mutations like any other virus, but this is mutating so fast. Now, people are saying that the government did not do enough. There is nothing that the government can do. People are saying, why wasn't the government prepared? Please tell us, how can the government be prepared? Let us also know, how can the government be prepared? People are taking China's side and saying, look, China was prepared. I said, why doesn't China tell us how it beat the virus? An editorial in the New York Times, which actually defends China. How many people will believe? Because in this kind of warfare that we face today, you can call it non-contact, you can call it non-kinetic, hybrid, you can even call it fifth generation warfare, whatever terminology. This all comes under the umbrella term of influence operations. In influence operations, fifth generation, non-contact, non-kinetic, hybrid warfare, the center of gravity is the people. Whoever can influence the mind of the people, right? Whoever can influence the mind of the people has won the war. 550,000, more than 500,000 people, right, died in the US. US is supposed to have one of the best health infrastructures in the world. It is a superpower. On the front page of Time magazine, of burning funeral pyres, of Hindus dying and burning funeral pyres, and Rana Ayub has sold tragedy like a vulture. But do you have photographs of American graveyards on Time magazine? 3.2 million people across the world have died because of Xi Jinping's China. But these people sitting on Indian television on primetime debates, you just hear them and they will not hear a word against China. And the truth is, Vaibhav, that China will come back again and again and again till the time you confront China. And the only way to confront China is not through nuclear war, biological war, or chemical war. The only way to confront China is have a detailed study on the fault lines within China and make sure that China implodes from inside. China is afraid of its own people's opinion. Therefore, Hong Kong and Falun Gong and the Tiananmen Square movements are brutally crushed because China is afraid of contrary opinion. China is afraid of democracy. China is afraid of opinion, of free voice.
People who can't deal with farmers protests, people who can't deal with NDTV, people who can't deal with handful of celebrities, people who can't create one potent institution to tackle information warfare of ISPR or the Chinese Red Cyber Army. I mean, you are expecting too much out of them, and I have my own sympathies with you also that you are expecting so much out of these people. Again, viewers, you are watching Defensive Offense English, and I'm Vaibhav. Today, I'm joined by Major Gaurav Arya to talk upon a very crucial issue: bioweapons. How China has used, pathogens to, wreak havoc in the rest of the world, and how it is using this virus so strategically that whoever is China's enemy or China considers a particular country its enemy, the virus is getting more deadlier in those regions, and whoever whichever country is a China friendly country, no matter how economically weak or strong they are barely impacted by this virus. Initially, it was considered to be a conspiracy theory, but now when we have the data and we can see with our bare eyes, when the first wave, second wave, and so many waves have come and gone, but still we can quantify data, and on that basis we can say that this virus is listening to Beijing. So how is it happening? Let us talk to Mr. Gaurav Arya. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Thank you very much.
Do you really believe that this virus is acting as an agent of CCP rather than as a viral agent? Because we now have ample amount of data to say that if you are China's friend, then this virus is not so deadly on you. But if you are a Sinophobe, then obviously there is a catastrophe waiting for you.
Vaibhav, I have absolutely no doubt and hesitation in saying that the coronavirus or COVID-19 is a bioweapon, that it was manufactured in a lab in Wuhan. And it has nothing to do with the wet markets of Wuhan. It has nothing to do with the Chinese people eating bats or dogs or rats or whatever the hell they eat. That's not the point. The point is that it was created in a laboratory by the People's Liberation Army. Now, there's one Dr. Andrew Fauci who actually gave the money for something which is called gain of function. Now, I'll just seek your permission to explain to our viewers what gain of function is, Web. Essentially, gain of function is you take a virus and then inside a laboratory, you make it far more dangerous than it is supposed to be. You weaponize a virus in a way. That is called gain of function. In 2014, President Obama had stopped funding for this, but in 2017 or 18, if I'm not mistaken, President Trump allowed funding. This is how the money went to Wuhan through third-party sources, and Dr. Andrew Fauci was the one who actually allowed this entire thing to happen. Allowed China the funding, the Wuhan labs the funding to start gain of function, and within a year and a half, China had this virus ready. And as I often explain, Web, with the help of an example, I've done it even on television in one of the shows that what is the similarity between this virus and an explosive. So I'll start off with that analogy. It's very important that our viewers understand. The virus here is controllable, Web, A. The virus is targeted, and the virus is stable. So when I say it's stable, it attacks those that China wants attacked. It does not attack those who China does not want attacked. And you mentioned this very thing during your question also. You said roughly the same thing. People who are friendly to China are not impacted. People who are inimical to China's interests get impacted. So, for example, we live in Uttar Pradesh, and there is Gorakhpur. And I'd like to give this example once again, that you're in Gorakhpur. And there are all sorts of deaths happening in Gorakhpur. But a few kilometers ahead of Gorakhpur in Nepal, there's nothing. Yes, there is the coronavirus, no doubt. But not as severe as it is just a few kilometers this side towards Gorakhpur. Similarly, the difference between Wagah and Atari is hardly 1 kilometer. Atari is on the Indian side and Wagah is on the Pakistani side. In Atari, you have all these things which are happening. Deaths which are happening, oxygen crisis that is happening, this new phenomena of people dying within 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, wanting ventilators and all. But a similar strain of virus is not found in Wagah, which is hardly a kilometer away. I mean, Wagah and Atari are the same thing. It's just that Atari is in the Indian side, and across the fence, across the IB is Wagah, which is in Pakistan. So you see, while Nepal and Pakistan will have coronavirus deaths, I'm not saying there are no corona cases. Of course they are. Of course they are in a serious condition, but they don't have this virulent kind of virus that exists in India. And this is stable because for the user it is stable. It is targeted. Like I said, it is geographically targeted. And then, the thing about this virus is that it has mutations like any other virus. But this is mutating so fast. Now, people are saying that the government did not do enough. There is nothing that the government can do. And absolutely, I'm sorry I'm saying this, but the government can only react. People are saying, why wasn't the government prepared? Please tell us, how can the government be prepared? Let us also know, how can the government be prepared? People are taking China's side and saying, look, China was prepared. I said, why doesn't China tell us how it beat the virus? The virus was never meant to be for China. Today in China, while 4,000 Indians at an average are dying every day, the numbers in China are in 2 digits, 14, 15, 16, 22. These are the kind of Chinese figures, and China's population more than India. And and in the eastern part of China, it's highly and densely populated. But this is what is happening in China. This is what is happening day in and day out. China has used this virus as a weapon.
So there is one more thing that when we get into this, biological warfare has always been practiced, and even in war games, different countries always prepare for biological warfare. We have seen armies operating with weird-looking suits on and all sorts of masks on. So at times it is for handling nuclear warfare, and at times for biological warfare. So it is not something that is unheard of, that people are acting so surprised that, how can a country do that, especially in the West. Western countries, and people like if you go to Italy and or many European countries, when this virus actually surfaced up, people started calling those who were questioning Chinese rule into that as racist. That you are a racist, that you are calling this a Chinese virus or a China virus or a Wuhan virus. And Italians went to an extent of hugging a Chinese. They started a movement which was called Hug a Chinese movement. So any tourist, Asian looking tourist, they started hugging them. And that is how this whole virus spread so rampantly in Italy, and Italy had to face so many deaths despite having such a great world class health infrastructure there in the world. So do you really think that China uses such things like calling people racist, or paying money to different journals of medical sciences to write propaganda pieces for them, buying the front page of New York Times and Washington Post, and having banners and doing advertising Times Square, paying hundreds of millions of dollars a year for propaganda? So how this happens, and what is the modus operandi?
Uh, Two things, Vaibhav. I think you hit the nail on the head. The modus operandi is very simple. First of all, this thing, is very, very powerful. When you tell a white man that he's racist, this is something that a white man cannot handle because his ancestors were racist once. And obviously, there is something called white guilt, and white guilt is something that is very, very real. So, this is what the Chinese play on. This is exactly what the Palestinians play on. This is what some Kashmiri separatists play on. You have to sort of play the victim card. Chinese are experts at playing the victim card. They're amongst the richest people on earth, but I don't know for what reason they would want to play the victim card, but they do. They play it extremely effectively. So I think we discussed this earlier also in one of the episodes, but there is this committee of 100 in the US. It comprises of Chinese Americans who are there, and even when America catches a spy, America catches a Chinese spy. These are the first people who say, no, the spy is innocent. He's not a spy. He's an innocent person. And the American law enforcement agencies or intelligence agencies are just being racist. You see, now nobody in America wants to be branded racist. You'll have no social life in America if you're branded racist. I mean, people would keep a kilometer's distance from you if you're racist because such is the construct of society. And uh, China has what is called three warfare strategy, and in the three warfare strategy, they have psychological warfare, right? That is number one. They have media warfare and they have legal warfare. So what you mentioned about buying the front page of New York Times or advertisement in Times Square or Washington Post or lighting up the Times Square and spending hundreds of millions of dollars. This is actually part of the PLA's budget, and this is a web of actually what the PLA does day in and day out. This is part, like for example, in India, warfare is about generally conventional warfare and other kinds of warfare. We call it fighting in built-up areas or coin operations, which are counterinsurgency operations, and a little bit of hybrid here and there. But China has gone all the way. China recognizes the power of the media. We still have not woken up to the power of the media, the power of the social media. Our efforts are still very, very nascent. And if we have to fight China, we must understand. And I keep on telling this. Wherever I go, I tell people that a newspaper editorial in a credible newspaper is far more powerful than an infantry division. And people laugh at me and people say, what the hell are you saying? How can that be possible? You're comparing a newspaper editorial to an infantry division. I said, yes, the face of warfare has changed forever. Just imagine an editorial in the New York Times which actually defends China. How many people will believe? Because in this kind of warfare that we face today, you can call it non-contact, you can call it non-kinetic, hybrid, you can even call it fifth generation warfare, whatever terminology. This all comes under the umbrella term of influence operations. And the beauty of the influence operations is, Web, that the center of gravity is the people. In warfare, the center of gravity is not the people. The center of gravity is the enemy's army. जो दुश्मन के मंसूबे हैं, the plans of the enemy or the action of the enemy, your counter actions, your plans. That is the center of gravity. But in influence operations, fifth generation, non-contact, non-kinetic, hybrid warfare, the center of gravity is the people. Whoever can influence the mind of the people, right? Whoever can influence the mind of the people has won the war. So you have Rana Ayub uh, and her piece on the cover of Time magazine. Time magazine में एक piece आ गया कि Modi has failed and India is collapsing. And nobody will remember this Time magazine piece after 2 weeks because after a month or so, we'll get out of that. But the damage has already been caused because we in India do not realize the power of media. We have the money, but we're too slow in realizing. And by the time we actually realize it, the momentum is lost, Weber, and that is extremely unfortunate. The Chinese are masters of playing the victim card. The Chinese are masters of blocking the human rights of other people. You can't access Western social media inside China. They've blocked it. You don't get any news out of China, and who knows how much money has been paid. You can say that India's health infrastructure has collapsed. You can say that, but I would ask a question: how many people have died in India? 3 lakh or 350,000? Maximum 350,000? 550,000, more than half a million people, right, died in the US. US is supposed to have one of the best health infrastructures in the world. It is a superpower. Tomorrow, you could very well ask that was America not prepared for this? Did Joe Biden fail or did Trump fail? But nobody's asking those questions. You have pictures on the front page of Time magazine of burning funeral pyres, of Hindus dying and burning funeral pyres, and Rana Ayub has sold tragedy like a vulture. But do you have photographs of American graveyards on Time magazine? The cover of Time magazine. You will not have photographs of European graveyards or American graveyards. People who have lost as many people and even more than India. 2.5 lakhs almost are the people who, all total, if you see, Europe lost more than 700, 800,000 people, if you count all the countries, right? US lost more than India. US, one country alone, lost more than India has till date. But nobody's showing their graveyards. So this is, you see, uh, I would like the Time magazine or the Washington Post or the New York Times to actually do a front cover page story and say the graveyards in America has collapsed. They will not do that. They dare not do that. But with India, it's fair game. So you always have these agents everywhere. So you have Rana Ayub who'll click a photograph and get a photograph and write that, how. And hona jana usse kuch bhi nahi hai. It won't make a bit of a difference because people will forget that story. The same journalist was saying that India is no longer a secular country and the constitution lies in ruins because people are in Shaheen Bagh. So every time people will do that, Vaibhav, and you're absolutely right when you say the Chinese are past masters at manipulation and we need to wake up. The fault is ours that we are still sleeping.
So Peter Daszak, who led the campaign for Dr. Fauci to start funding again the Wuhan lab of virology, uh, Dr. Peter Daszak wrote a paper in Lancet, and Lancet is, we all know, one of the foremost journals of medical sciences in the world. And he wrote an article on Lancet, and it was not a research paper because Lancet publishes research paper. It's a journal. You can't write op-eds in Lancet. It's not a newspaper. So he wrote an opinion piece, and he proved, how this whole theory of, the lab leak, that this virus has been leaked out of a lab, is horse shit because this virus actually originated from a wet market, and Yunnan wet market, if we be very specific. And this is the theory that is being sold to us since the day one. KG and Dr. KG Anderson, one of his friend, he wrote a paper in Nature Medicine magazine journal,
Yes.
and he also wrote a similar propaganda piece. That, he wrote an opinion. No, 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 it is not like that. Just to save their own skins, they have allowed uh, China to go unpunished. And by WHO, Dr. Daszak was appointed, the probe officer to probe
Yes.
the Wuhan, lab of virology. And actual distance between the Wuhan lab where the virus first appeared, the first casualty also happened. Yunnan wet market is about somewhere around more than 200, 300 kilometers away. So the virus traveled hundreds of kilometers to kill somebody from Yunnan to Wuhan. And if we are supposed to believe the theory of Dr. This Peter, the Dr. KG Anderson and Peter Daszak. So how far do you think WHO is complicit in this, and how China uses money, its power, its might to buy off everybody who's there in the way?
I think, Vaibhav, what we need as Indians to do is stop complaining and also do what China is doing. Uh, you're very right. You mentioned Daszak, and you mentioned Anderson, and you mentioned Lancet, and you mentioned all these medical journals, and how China has actually, he wrote an op-ed piece. I've seen that piece. And there is no research. It's not a research paper. It doesn't mention facts and data. It's an opinion. It's an op-ed. Obviously, it's an op-ed. Now, the person who wrote this op-ed was actually made the head of the so-called investigation committee, which went to China. World Health Organization also said that China refused to cooperate and they were not let inside the lab, and there was very little cooperation from China. We need to know how much money is China giving WHO, because WHO cannot levy taxes. It's not a country. It has no means of income. People contribute towards WHO. So what has happened is, uh, during Trump's time, what happened was that a lot of funding for a lot of organizations across the world was stopped because Trump said we are not going to fund it. Right? China stepped in. China started giving money. Now we need to understand and investigate how much money China has legally or illegally given WHO, because it is very simple. The one who funds the organization calls the shots. Now, if China is funding it, China will call the shots. So you can always do these kind of things. Of these, see, Lancet has to pay money to its employees, right? Lancet has to pay money to its employees. It has to pay salaries. अपने अपने खर्चे सबके होते हैं. Lancet has its own expenses, and who doesn't mind a few dollars more? So that is what China is an expert at doing. China takes its money and it buys influence. It buys journalists. China understands more than any other country in the world, more than America, more than Europe. China understands the power of the free press, the same free press that China denies its own people. So what China has done is stopped free press for its own people, but weaponized the free press against its enemies. So you can sit in an evening debate on Indian television, forget about Time magazine, forget about Lancet or any other Western publication or magazine or channel. You can sit on an Indian channel, and from 5 o'clock in the evening till 11 o'clock at night, you will have people saying that don't say anything against China. It's your fault that you could not stop the virus. You're saying, okay, maybe we were not well prepared. Maybe the government of India needs to be better prepared. All of that is true. We should be better prepared, and next time we jolly well be better prepared than we were last time, because that is inexcusable. Deaths are inexcusable. You can't have people dying on the road. But at the same time, there is China, which is responsible. There is China that is totally and absolutely responsible for 3.2 million. 32 lakh log mar gaye abhi tak duniya mein. These are today's figures, latest figures. 32 lakh people. That is 3.2 million people across the world have died because of Xi Jinping's China. But these people sitting on Indian television on primetime debates, you just hear them and they will not hear a word against China. I can understand. Opposition parties saying that, the government is failed, because that is their job. That is their job, and they'll do their job. It's fine. At the same time, Weber, it's very surprising that, there are people, especially communist-leaning people, who will take it very personally if you say something against China. They can criticize the government, and they should also say that we demand action against China from the government. We demand action from Modi ji against China. Please tell us what steps you're taking. But they will not say that. What they will say is that, how can you question China? It's your fault. Why are you questioning China? China has stopped the virus. China has saved lives of its own citizens. You are incompetent, so you are not able to. This is what they say. You are incompetent, you are not able to. Now, my point is, if China has saved the lives of its citizens, and if China is such a great, country, and its health infrastructure is better than America, better than Europe, better than India, better than anybody, then I would like to ask the Chinese government, the CCP, please also tell us how you managed to stop it. Let us also figure out. We'll then follow your example, because we had a lockdown. We had whatever we could. We sort of vaccinated half the world, yeah, and we did everything that we could, not just for ourselves, but the rest of the world. But today we are suffering. Why? Because this is a bioweapon. This is a targeted attack. And I'll also tell you, Weber, why the world does not speak up. I'll tell you. There are very few people who will speak about this. These people are fence sitters. These people are cowards. And I'll tell you why I'm calling them cowards, Weber, because these people who are not speaking against China today are people with a very high degree of credibility. And nobody wants to be called a conspiracy theorist. You know, you have studied science for 30 years, 40 years. You're a respected figure. You've won prizes, maybe perhaps even the Nobel. Who knows? I don't know. And you've won prizes, and you're a respected authority, and you're called to Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge and Yale, and everybody waits for you, and they open doors for you, and you're this big science superstar. You cannot afford to say anything without checking it backwards 10 times by yourself and by your team. So people are afraid of being called conspiracy theorists, which is why people are not pointing fingers at China. But I can tell you that now it's slowly and slowly changing. There are respectable people in America and Europe who are now pointing fingers, and they're asking for investigation to be opened because, you know, what will happen, Web of, it's essentially a critical mass. Like in a nuclear explosion, you have critical mass. Simply in these deaths, you know, simply too many people have died. And now people are starting to, you know, it's not like 100, 200 people have died. Not that that number is small and insignificant. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that simply too many people have died for China to shut it up by simply buying the front cover through Rana Ayub on Time magazine or buying the New York Times front page or op-ed. I think that bus has sort of left, that train has left the station.
So if we see, and let us be very honest with each other, even Indian government never takes the name of China. Has ever Indian government asked for accountability? Has Indian government ever, like Mr. Modi or the foreign minister, who's called so-called a great communicator, he has never spoken about. Though he can speak Mandarin, as I am told, but still he could not speak a single word against China, and we almost had a war with China recently. So why are we so afraid of China? I don't really understand. Like, okay, I mean, you can stand up to China on the border. The Indian army can give them a bloody nose there. Not only there on Galwan, on Doklam also, and even in future also, the army will give them a bloody nose. But when we talk about the political leadership or the bureaucracy, the foreign office, I mean, these guys can't even name China and ask them or stand up against China at a global platform and say, all right, let us fix the accountability here. The China has done this, and this is a biological warfare. They have much more information than we have. I mean, what stops you from doing it? Just because United States doesn't do, and because US has its own interest, we have our own. Why don't we do it?
I don't have an answer to that question, Weber. I don't know why we don't take names. We should, we should, we should take names. We should publicly take names. There should be a resolution in our parliament naming Xi Jinping. There should be a resolution in the Indian parliament shaming the Communist Party of China and publicly calling for accountability and publicly calling for, accountability in 32 lakh deaths, 3.2 million people have died. And we should. I don't know why we're not doing it. So I don't have an answer to your question, but yes, we should. We should because to think that this too shall pass. It's not like that. It's not like that. China will come back again with another strain of virus. They will figure something out, Vaibhav. The term that you were looking at earlier in your question was NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. Today it is biological, tomorrow it could be chemical, even nuclear. With China, you never know. China is a rampaging monster, and China needs to be stopped, and it can only be stopped if the world speaks in one voice. And if the world says, and when I say the world, I mean starting with India, we need to name China. I believe there should be a resolution in parliament. I believe that we should say that China is at fault. I believe we should take punitive measures against China because you see what happened in Doklam. You see what happened in East Ladakh. Now China has retreated quite a lot from the line of actual control. It was bang on the line of actual control. It's gone back into its own territory. It was earlier also in its own territory, but we had 5 agreements saying that we will not go bang on the line of actual control and we'll be, slightly away. But at the same time, what is the guarantee that China will not come back next year? I'm not even talking about the virus. I'm talking about East Ladakh or Sikkim or Himachal or Uttarakhand or Arunachal Pradesh. These 5 places where this 3,500, 3,600, 3,700 kilometer line of actual control meanders. Yeah. Please tell me, what is the guarantee that China won't come back next year? Of course, it will come back next year. It will come back the year after that, unless you punish China, unless you publicly punish China. And when I say publicly, there is a problem with us Indians also, right? As a people, there is a problem. Uh, we did not get any proof because people here are very fond of proof, the opposition parties and some people. We should have done the surgical strikes in such a manner and publicized it for everybody. When the Balakot strike happened, we chose the Spice 2000 bomb. I don't know the technical parameters why that weapon system was chosen, and the Air Force people know far better. I have no knowledge of the Air Force, and neither should I comment. But at the same time, I just wish that it was more public, that it could have been tracked through satellite. I wish it was extremely public. I wish Pakistan's humiliation was public. Similarly, the hiding that we gave to the Chinese at PP-14 on Galwan Ridge, I wish that was public. I wish that was there for everybody to see. In today's day and age of information overload, Weber, where everybody's spending 6 to 8 hours on social media, even 10 hours, 12 hours every day on social media, unless you have the visuals, the optics, that sense of satisfaction is not derived. We were very quick to own casualties. So many of our people, they were martyred in Galwan. And we were very quick and we were very forthright. The Chinese were not. It's only later, a year later, or months later, when the Russian intelligence reports came out, right? And when the American intelligence, the CIA reports came out, then we had some sort of closure. But it's not the same thing as instant closure. If Chinese were responsible for 20 deaths, Indian deaths, and we were sort of responsible for 40 in retaliation, we should have seen 40 dead bodies. This is where we failed. Yes, we carried out successful surgical strikes. We carried out a very successful Balakot. And we gave a very apt reply to the Chinese in Galwan. But I would request the Indian government next time, put cameras, carry cameras, make it public. Make the humiliation of the enemy public so that it knows. And then push these videos in Weibo inside China so that the Chinese people also see how the Chinese army was thrashed. Otherwise, China will keep on coming back. China will just deny, we had no deaths. Only 3 or 5 people died. And next year they'll again come and they'll keep on coming. Similarly with the virus, Weber. The Chinese will come back with another strain of the virus because now they know how it works in India. They will come back again. They will keep on attacking unless you confront China. And unless you confront, if you live on hope alone, saying that this virus will go away one day, I'm sorry, that's not very likely to happen. Not with China.
So when you believe in ideology like Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, and this whole world is one family, and sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka vishwas, all this. I mean, there was a time I used to laugh on these slogans. Now I just feel disgusted. I mean, when are these guys going to learn? When are you going to learn your lessons? World does not operate on slogans of sabka saath, sabka vikas. World does not operate on slogans of world as one family. There can be a news channel by that name. All right. It can't be a foreign policy, for heaven's sake. I mean, sir, my final question about this whole this biological warfare thing is, now China has a know-how. They know how many deaths in which area. They have quantifiable data that we are providing because everything is in public domain. Like we have developed a mobile app where you can track that, how many people are getting sick every day, in which district, in which area, how many people are dying. So now they have a very realistic data. So do you think that unless we respond in kind, this is going to be, the next chapter of this whole biological warfare is going to be much more horrific for us?
Absolutely, Weber. You know, I believe, and this is my personal belief, I could be wrong, But I'm saying it with a lot of personal conviction is that had we caused mass casualties in Doklam when the Chinese had come there, right? East Ladakh would not have happened. And had we hammered the Chinese senseless in East Ladakh, this whole coronavirus nonsense wouldn't have happened. The second wave, etc., believing that it's a bioweapon. Uh, However, it's very important that we see China and the world is an existential fight. When we say this, people say, ये तो warmonger है ना, ये लोग तो बकवास करते रहते हैं, लड़ाइयाँ इनको पसंद है. They are not peace loving. It's not about me wanting peace. What I want is immaterial. What I, Gaurav want is of zero value. I'm just telling the truth here. And the truth is, Vaibhav, that China will come back again and again and again till the time you confront China. And the only way to confront China is not through nuclear war, biological war, or chemical war. The only way to confront China is have a detailed study on the fault lines within China and make sure that China implodes from inside. There are enough fault lines in China. Democracy is a big, big problem in China. Big problem in China. People are now, if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the top is self-actualization. After a person has got everything, he reaches for self-actualization. And this is something which is causing disruption in China. The Falun Gong movement, the Tiananmen Square movement, the Hong Kong, the entire democracy riots in Hong Kong. Why are they happening? Because the Chinese have everything. They're a rich nation today. At least most of the people can afford 3 square meals, and they can afford a house, and they can afford education for their kids and healthcare. And generally, the standard of living is far higher, at least higher than India. But there's this dissonance in the Chinese society. There is this simmering sense of discontent within the Chinese ecosystem because they go now. The Chinese have money; they travel all over the world. They go to America, they go to Europe. Normal, common, middle class Chinese, they go there, and then they see that there is so much of freedom. And human nature craves freedom. And when they come back to China, suddenly they see that YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter is not functional. It's not functioning at all. And that is the time when the Chinese start questioning their own government. And this is what we must tap into. Unless China implodes, unless China starts hemorrhaging from inside, mainland China, especially the eastern part of China, Vaibhav, the world will not see any peace. China is, I'm saying this and I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. China is not afraid of India's mountain divisions here, to be very honest. And China is certainly not afraid of America's B-52 bombers or aircraft carriers, right? It's only a matter of time. China will also have 5-7 aircraft carriers. It's only a matter of time. While the world procrastinates and we'll say, okay, let's have another meeting. Let's have another video conference and let's have another meeting of the Quad. We'll keep on having meetings and China is building nuclear submarines. If you want to actually do something, spend some money and find out what are the fault lines within China and how can you actually take advantage of those fault lines. Hammer China from inside. Start pro-democracy movements inside China. When China is troubled from inside, China will stop creating mischief outside. It's a question, it's like a house, Vaibhav. If 5 brothers are united, they can fight with anybody. वो गली के गुंडे बन जाते हैं when 5 brothers are united. But when the 5 brothers are fighting against each other every single day, they're living in one house and fighting for property, fighting for money, fighting for the attention of their parents, or there is unhealthy competition between the brothers. He bought a car. होता है ना ऐसे घरों में जैसे. If you have that within China, so I'm just giving an example of a family. If the brothers in a house are dissatisfied, that is where a rupturing of a nation starts. That is what China did in India, Vaibhav. That is what China does in India. That is what China made Pakistan do inside India. Today, India cannot realize its dreams of becoming a superpower because you have a problem in Kashmir, you have a problem on the line of control. Abhi thoda sa shant ho gaya line of control, kal fir shuru ho jayega. You have a problem along the line of actual control. You have the red corridor, the entire Naxal area. Very recently, so many CRPF jawans were martyred there. You have problems in universities where people are raising all sorts of funny slogans. You have the Kisans going one direction. You have the NRC and CAA people going in the other direction. The whole country seems in a state of political turmoil. And a country that is in a state of political turmoil can never achieve its aim. It's like a person preparing to fight. When he's preparing to fight with a big adversary, the morale should be up. But if that person, I'm giving an example here, if that person is only looking at the fact that, my parents don't have medicine, my children don't have food to eat, right? There are problems. My fights with my brothers is ongoing. I don't know what he'll do behind my back. How can you focus on the enemy? Similarly, with so many problems inside India, which are created by outside forces, who created the Khalistan movement? Who created the Kashmir issue? Who set fire to the line of control? Who set fire to the line of actual control? Who started this entire Naxal belt? 8 to 12 states. Now, obviously, constructing now we managed to control it to quite some extent. But how can India look outwards, Vaibhav? How can India look to expanding? How can India become a global power if India is only dealing with problems inside India? So, at least now we have a framework in which to work. You should apply the same framework to China. How can China become a global superpower if China is constantly fighting with itself, its own people? China is afraid of social media. Therefore, Twitter does not function inside China. China is afraid of its own people's opinion. Therefore, Hong Kong and Falun Gong and the Tiananmen Square movements are brutally crushed because China is afraid of contrary opinion. China is afraid of democracy. China is afraid of opinion, of free voice. That is China's, that is China's jugular vein. That is China's fault line, and this is what we must exploit. Otherwise, Vaibhav, mark my words, they will come back to the line of actual control again. There will again be another pathogen. There will be another virus. More Indians will die, and throughout the world, China will keep on causing chaos till the time you break China's spine.
So people who cannot deal with the writers of CA NRC, people who can't deal with the farmers protests, people who can't deal with the NDTV, people who can't deal with the handful of celebrities, people who can't create one potent institution to tackle information warfare of ISPR or the Chinese Red Cyber Army. I mean, you are expecting too much out of them, and I have my own sympathies with you also that you are expecting so much out of these people. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope that if somebody in the government is listening to this or watching this, please go and visit IDF's Twitter handle, and you will get to know, when you bomb a building, how to go public about it. When you bomb a terrorist organization's, um, hideout, how to go public about it, how to do information warfare, how to use social media. They sitting in Jerusalem or somewhere in Tel Aviv have today millions of Indians supporting them without even coming to India, without even spending a single penny and paying any Indian celeb for a single tweet. They have more than half of India supporting them. This is how IW is done. Thank you for joining us.